What's up, Tube? Welcome back to Low Guido's Chop Shop, second best Gel Blaster channel on tubes. And a little while ago I built this V2G HSG box with a perun V2 hybrid inside it, and it's a very sensitive trigger with the MOSFET is an optical MOSFET. It's very sensitive. It doesn't take a whole lot to fire it. I've got little videos on that you can check out. But one of the downsides to optical MOSFETs is and always has been that the trigger, despite, I mean this has not got a battery connected to it, despite being quite sensitive, it's really dead feeling. The trigger has no feel to it, because basically the only resistance you're getting is your finger against the return spring. The actual mechanism that tells the blaster to fire is an optical beam, and when the trigger breaks the beam it sends a signal. So that's all well and good, but an everyday normal trigger just ends up feeling a bit floppy, even though like you can fire it quite quickly. There's still this, it doesn't have a stop. And now there's a couple of ways that you can go about sorting this out, and the first of which is a speed trigger with adjustable grub screw stops. Now I've got a T238 speed trigger here, which I specifically bought because I was going to put it into this, but then I found out that perun has also released a little module, which is a clicker module for the V2 hybrid specifically, which contains a magnet and some parts that go on top of the trigger mechanism and give it a bit of a tactile feel, as opposed to this sloppy like mess that is optical triggers. So I guess now I'm deciding which one should I do. Should I do the clicker or should I do the speed trigger, or why not both? Why don't I just put both in there? So that's what I'm going to do. What I might actually do is I might just put the clicker in first and see how that feels, and then maybe I'll do the speed trigger for a comparison, and I'll let you know my thoughts on which one I think is the better of the two. Alright, so the first thing we've got to do, let's get this bad boy apart. You know how this goes. Couple of screws in the grip, and then a lot of screws around the gearbox. Alright, this is tight fit. Alright, we got. Alright, and now take the spring out, spring and the spring retainer. This one is, I don't remember what I put in here, but it is a tight one. Looks fairly fairly big. Alright, and then got these 2mm Allens. Alright, all the screws removed. Now time for the gearbox. Alright. For reasons unknown, the anti-reverser stayed on the top of the box. Now, it's worth noting that this trigger is shimmed specifically for the perun MOSFET. So there is a 0.3mm shim in there on that side, and don't know if there's a shim on the other side. No, there doesn't appear to be any shims on the other side, but there is a 0.3mm shim on this side, and it's worth noting that the perun trigger is, they do recommend, if you're using the V2 hybrid, that you do shim the trigger. So that's a thing. Alright, now that it's all out, kinda, I'm going to have a look at, you can see that there's a small device that goes on the top of the trigger to actually trigger the MOSFET. So it already has a little device on there, and the clicker, I believe, replaces that device. So open it up and get it out. Here it is. It's, wow, it's a lot larger. Yeah, okay, cool. This will be interesting. This will be worth looking into. It's made of the same stuff. It's I think it's a type of 3D printing. The laser sintered printing or something. Yeah, anyway, cool. I'm gonna have a look at this, get it onto this trigger, and then we'll see how it feels. Okay, so from what I can gather, this piece here replaces the old one altogether. So this one comes off with the two very small Phillips head screws, and it gets replaced by this whole new clicker unit. Now, I had a bit of a play around with it to try and see how it works. Obviously that's the magnet that triggers the Hall effect sensor up here in the MOSFET, and the way that this thing just zipped across the desk when I moved a magnet near it tells me that there's probably a magnet in it as well. I can see there's a magnet there, but I imagine there must be a magnet for the firing mechanism as well that replaces this one that I just pulled out, and I got a feeling it's in there. Now, this is really interesting the way this works. It's got a magnet here and a screw, and then that's the click. It's interesting. It actually feels, just on my finger, it feels quite nice. And by the looks of the way this is designed, it looks like it's designed to slot right there, just like that. So I think this replaces the unit on top. I've got a feeling it replaces the return spring as well. Or does it? I'm going to try it without the spring to see how it feels. Oh wow. Just already the tactile feel that that trigger gives it is really nice. If you're a speedy boy and you're into the really feathering that feathering the trigger, then this probably is not going to be a product that you're going to want, because it adds an extra weight onto the trigger that you've got to break away before it actually moves. But it feels nice and solid. I don't know if I might just break out the T238 anyway, the T238 speed trigger, and pop that in and see how that looks. See how we go from there. I mean, I don't think it's not strictly necessary, because I mean, while I could use the grub screw adjustment to take up a little bit of this slack that's there because I'm not using a spring at the moment, I've got a feeling that there's a hole in the bottom of this which is sort of set aside for a spring. There is a little hole here, and that could well be just set aside there to have a spring, have a return spring in there. But I don't see that there's a need for it. I should probably read the instruction manual, because that would be the intelligent thing to do, but it's not how I roll. I might pop the T238 trigger in and just see how that goes. Alright, so the T238 speed trigger, I think I'm going to go with that because it's really nice. It's a really nice quality trigger, and the other trigger I had was, well, wasn't great, to be honest. It was just what I had lying around. The T238 speed trigger comes with a spring, 2 grub screws, and the shaft, which is interesting because I've never actually seen a trigger that comes with a shaft separately. It means that you can sort of get the trigger into place and then just sort of drop the shaft in, which I don't know, that may or may not be a useful feature to have. Either way, it's a feature. It also has these 2 little grub screws here, and these grub screws, or set screws as they're also known, there's a long one and a short one. The long one goes through the trigger here, and the short one goes through the trigger here. Now, the beauty of that is that when you do pop your trigger in, and it's got a spring as well, when you do pop your trigger in here, I think I should probably put the shaft in to make it easier to put the spring on. Alright. This is always a fun game of getting the trigger spring in from behind a tripod. It's difficult enough at the best of times. I got a video on how to do this and why it's a pain. You should check it out. I might put a link to it. Alright, so having Having the longer pin actually does make that a little bit easier. Okay, alright. So now, with that in place, you notice that this piece on the bottom here, most standard triggers don't have that little bit, and that is to allow you to turn that set screw and wind in a little bit of pre-tension onto the trigger. So that pushes it backwards. And the other one, which goes through here, is the opposite end of the scale, and it allows you to wind in a stop for maximum trigger travel. And so that in itself would kind of fix your issue with the lack of feeling in the optical MOSFET, but this unit here, if I am correct, just slides right in there, and then it's going to be, ooh, oh, that's nice. Alright, now, I like that setup. I think I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with that one, with the T238 trigger and the clicker, because then it gives me a little bit of adjustments. I can take the slack out of it if I need to. For what it's worth, spring fits. It doesn't need to go through any of that little stuff or anything. It just fits in the normal way, and then the perun clicker unit goes on top. But yeah, nice. I like the feel of it. It does give it a little bit of a heavier trigger than what I'd be used to, but I think I like it. I'm going to go with that, and we'll see how it feels. Alright, I'm going to pop this back together now and give it a test. Now, is there going to be any issues fitting the box back on? No. That was almost too easy. Alright. I'll pop these screws back in and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I've got the T238 speed trigger installed. I haven't even made any adjustments on these grub screws yet. You can see it's quite a bit of free play before I hit the wall there, but if I wanted to, I can drive this grub screw in and adjust that. Can you see what happened there? Now there's literally no free play before the wall, and click. Now I would put some blue Loctite on these grub screws just so they don't back out. And I don't think this second grub screw isn't even necessary with the perun clicker in, but gosh, that feels good. Let's hook a battery up here. Alright, now I'm just gonna whoa. Man, that feels snappy and nice. I like it. Sorry, sorry, headphone users. Apologise. I apologise. I should have probably given a warning. Although, if you watch my channel, you probably know what to expect when. See what's happened here? That grub screw, even in that short time, has backed itself out just a little bit. So definitely use some Loctite on there. But still, you can make that adjustment So you can adjust it how you like it. If you like it so there's absolutely no play whatsoever until you click, then you can adjust that. Or if you like a little bit of play, you can just wind that out and you can give yourself just that little bit before the trigger engages. It's up to you, personal preference, and that's the beauty of the T238 speed trigger, is that you've got that adjustment. I was gonna do like an either or kind of thing, but with the perun clicker or the T238, and I think the combination of the two, I'm liking it. I like it. If you were a speed softer and you're setting up, you probably would not get the perun clicker. I would suggest just get the speed trigger and set your backstop about where the clicker starts, because the clicker does have a very hard click to it, and I know the speedy boys like to have that no full auto in the buildings type thing. How does that go again? That's how it goes. So yeah, I know that the speedy boys like that boom boom boom, that really touchy hair trigger. If you want a hair trigger, the perun clicker is not the way to go. The perun clicker is more of a sort of meaty click click. So, but a combination of the perun clicker and the T238 trigger, I like it. I'm liking where this is going. Good for that more realism type thing. But again, as I said, if you are a speed softer and you're looking for that hair trigger, no full auto in the buildings type deal, you'd probably just go with the speed trigger. And as I said, I'm gonna get some Loctite on these screws just so they don't back out, because they will back out if you don't. But just some blue Loctite to keep them from backing out. Get it in that spot where you like it, and she's sweet, good to go. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. I will probably put links in the description of where these. So the perun stuff, I actually got this from East Coast Customs, but yeah, you can get it from Sting Ops, or there's other retailers out there. Perun, and the T238 trigger, I will put a link to the to where you can get one in the description as well. I'll put all the links. Cheers, thanks for watching. Thanks for buying me a coffee. If you have bought me a coffee, in the link below to support my channel. Cheers, thank you for doing so. If you haven't, you can do so in the link below by clicking it and buying me a coffee. Any coffee support goes towards making my videos. Shout outs to those who have bought me coffee. Shout outs to Adam Hoy. Alright, thanks for watching. Also, if you want a patch, don't forget, patches are available. If you want this patch, this exact patch, hit me up on face page, the Low Guido's Choppers page. Send me a DM and I will send you this patch, this exact patch that I'm holding right now. Alright, thanks for watching. Peace.